Christina Meredith went from foster care to homelessness to Miss California. She shares her incredible story of overcoming the odds in her new book, Cinder Girl. Christina, welcome to Real Life.
Thank you for having me.
It's such an honor to have you here. So tell me what you're doing right now.
Right now, I'm on a national book tour. I serve in the United States Army. I'm an enlisted soldier, and yeah, I know, it's crazy. And I'm turning my enlistment into a commission, so I'll commission from the University of Florida in December.
Prettiest soldier I've ever seen, ever.
Don't let this fool you. Yeah. I can do some things.
Yeah. Tell me what special, you were telling me.
So
whatever.
Yes, ma'am. So enlisted side, I'm a 74 Delta. I'm a chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear warfare specialist. And then when I commission, I'll be a signal intelligence officer.
Okay, see, that's cool. I mean, I'm just saying, that is like super cool. Okay, so let's talk about your book, Cinder Girl.
Yeah.
Let's go back to when it started, when Cinder Girl was birthed.
Cinder Girl, well, the title started when I was homeless in my car, but really the story started when I was a little girl. Mm-hmm. My mother ostracized me right away. I grew up with 8 brothers and sisters, and my father was always gone working 2-3 jobs to provide for 8 kids. And so I just remember, and I talk about it in my book, you know, my being singled out and knowing that my mother didn't love me the same way and didn't share affection for me the same way. And I always struggled with trying to get her to love me. But when I came home from school and gave her a note when I was 7 or 8, and it said I loved you on it, and I had struggled with reading and writing, and I did up until high school. It said love with a U instead of an O and an E. Mm-hmm. And she ripped it up, and she said I was good for nothing and that she'd show me what I was good for. And that's the day that she gave me my new name, which was Laundry Lady, and then made my sisters and my brothers call me by that name. And that was my new position in the house.
So that is abuse.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Even just verbal abuse, just demeaning somebody and not valuing them. But that's not the only kind of abuse that you experienced.
No, verbal abuse is something that I always grew up with my mother, and so did my siblings. She was very verbally and emotionally abusive, withholding affection and stonewalling and all of these things that, you know, I know now as an adult. But verbal abuse escalates into physical abuse, and eventually it turned into sexual abuse. And then there was psychological abuse. So for many, many years, I endured all kinds of torment and all kinds of hardship inflicted upon me. And you know, I think experiencing these things and not understanding them as a child, but being able to heal and go through trauma therapy and being able to talk about my story for years and years and years really has allowed me to have empathy and a deep sense of love for others. A sort of righteous indignation for children who are abused. And so I wouldn't change what I endured because it makes me the leader that I am.
And who you are today.
Yeah.
I mean, even one of the stories in your book, you're in a closet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A little girl in a closet.
Yeah, I was locked in that closet because I told my mother that her brother was raping me and had been for years, and I got punished and taken out of school. I never finished 7th grade, never went to 8th grade. It was a very painful place. I tried to kill myself in that closet, if you remember. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I didn't want to live. I was tired. I was so confused. I didn't understand why all of it was always my fault and why she hated me. And I didn't understand how the sexual abuse and rape for so many years was my fault. It was very confusing. And, you know, I think a little girl or a little boy can just become exhausted with it all. And so that closet was a pivotal moment in my life, but the Lord showed up in that closet, in that horrifying little tiny closet.
Wow. He showed up a lot of times in your life.
Yeah,
and
he continues to show up. Thank God. Thank you, Jesus.
Doing a fancy smancy project and writing a book. I mean, your story from, you know, ashes to beauty is amazing. And anybody that has struggled through abuse verbally, sexually, with family, ought to read this book. You have some scriptures, it's enlightening, but you also see God's hand through it all.
Yeah, he's faithful because there's no way I would have seen him unless he revealed himself to me. So I just, God is so gracious.
Yeah.
He's so loving. Even in our darkest moments, even in our deepest despair, the Lord is ever present He is he's more real than these couches that we're sitting on. He's more real than what you and I. He is there.
Yes.
And even when you can't feel him or see him, or even when you're angry and you're confused about whatever's happening to you, there's a God in heaven who loves you, who will never leave you, never forsake you.
Yeah.
And I'm a walking epistle, a walking truth to that. And so I think, if there's anything someone can take away from my story, it is that the Lord is with you and he loves you and he's for you. And then if you allow him to turn your hardship and your suffering into something good, he will.
Yes.
You just have to be obedient. You just have to surrender.
Right.
And it's hard. It takes many, many years to get to that place, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Your first moment of freedom is when?
First moment of freedom, I think, would be when I moved out of my car, Sunny, and got my first apartment. And I was running through my little two-bedroom house with my hands on the walls and acting like I had just won the lottery.
That's awesome. I love that you name your car Sunny.
Yeah, well, she deserved it. She was bright yellow like a school bus, so it fit.
And what about, too, when you told your friends, finally, about the abuse that was happening in your home?
Well, Rachel and Christina are still dear friends of mine to this day.
Oh,
I love them so much. And they knew something was wrong, right? I think kids aren't dumb. They weren't stupid. And 14-year-old girls, right? We know what's up. We're a little bit more emotionally intelligent than our male peers. But they knew. And so when they saw the bruises, because I did a very good job of covering them up, there was nothing I could say. And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and tell them. And so I revealed every family secret and every dark place that I wasn't supposed to talk about, right? Sworn into silence forever, literally. So much so that I was locked in a closet and taken out of school and locked inside of a house for over a year. But I had these two girlfriends who lived in my complex who loved me, and I spilled every secret that I wasn't supposed to share. And it was the start of my healing journey. I pinpoint that moment to when I opened up to Rachel and Christina, my two girlfriends, and shared with them all of the things I had gone through. And I think it's very important when you start your trauma healing, when you start your healing journey from hardship and from abuse, that you have to talk about it. And you have to talk about it with people that you care about and people that you love, and people who love you.
Let's talk about high school and the JROTC.
Yeah, let's do that, because I love ROTC.
That was a big step also in freedom and really finding yourself and finding people that actually really cared about you.
Yeah, so my mother routinely dropped us off at different families' houses, and she just so happened to drop us off at a family that already had two girls and a son, and very, middle class, both had jobs, very secure, good-hearted family. And they decided that they were going to enroll me in pre-boot camp before my freshman year of high school. Now, mind you, I hadn't gone to school in almost 2 years. I hadn't been around. I had been the babysitter. I had been the cook. I had been the chore girl, but I had not been to school. So when she told me I was going to school, before school even started, I was ecstatic. I was like, this is amazing. And I went to pre-boot camp, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I fell in love with ROTC. I went to Nice High School and did their NJROTC, their Navy ROTC program there. And I knew it was the only thing I was good at, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to serve in the military, and the dream that I had at 14 years old, all the way through 18 years old, of being an officer in the military, is now about to come true in just 6 months in December. Right. So I think another thing to take away is that the Lord can give you a desire for something, and you can't quit on it, because He might take you the long way around. Okay, I wouldn't have chosen to enlist in the United States Army at 28 years old. Okay, that's not what Chris would have decided. But you have to be obedient to what God's called you to do. Yeah. And so, He's just faithful in allowing me to live out my dream, a small dream that I had.
Before we leave high school, can you just share the Tim Tebow story real quick?
Sure. So after school, it would always be me, because my mother would forget me. And I'd be after school, after cross-country practice or track and field or RTC. And I'd be sitting on the sidewalk by myself. Everyone had already gone, and then there'd be another student there, and it was Timothy. So he'd be there on the football field with 3 coaches and his dad, getting special coaching, and then there'd be me, the forgotten child, and I would just stare at him and be envious of the love, and wanted his dad to be my dad, and didn't understand why my mother hated me. And one of these times, Mr. Tebow, his dad, walked across the parking lot, through the football field, through the parking lot, up and to the side, and I was just like, oh my God, this is not gonna be good. Because when an adult comes up to you, right, it's terrifying. I was a good kid. I might have struggled academically, but I was a very good kid. And so he asked me, what are you doing here, young lady? And I just looked up at him as I'm sitting down, and I said, sir, I'm waiting for my mother to get me. Sometimes she forgets. And his face turned from a stern, what is this young girl doing here, to a sorrow, you know, oh my gosh, compassion. And he asked if he could pray for me. And I said, yes, pray for me. You know, 15 years old at the time, 14, 15. And he prays for me. And then every time he saw me after that, he would walk on over and he would just pray for me. And then he would go back to, you know, where Timmy was and doing whatever they were doing. And I just think that his kindness is such a testament to how we should really pay attention.
Yes.
We shouldn't be so inwards. We need to be outwards, because his small prayers stuck with me, even through my homelessness. Just the kindness of someone who I knew was important and I knew I wasn't. And so I think it's our obligation to really love on people and pray for people and offer that hope and offer that kindness.
Yeah.
And so it was really a beautiful gift that he gave me. And I implement that small gift that he gave me as much as I can in my own life, because who knows how I can impact someone who's sad, someone who's hurting, with a kind gesture, with just a kindness. Yeah. And so it's really a beautiful moment.
I love that, and it's inspiring to us to look for kids, to pray for them. So you graduate, you're 18, you're on your own, you're out of there, and you're headed to California, and you're homeless.
Yeah. All of these things. It's like this crazy moment, but I graduated high school by the skin of my teeth, but I did it, praise God. Bought Sunny, my two-door Chevy Cavalier, moved into her, lived in her for over a year and a half, worked several jobs to get my own apartment, which I felt was my first time of freedom. Yes. Bartended, did some bar managing, was a maid during the morning, was a maid at a hotel, and bartended at night, so I was hustling, right, trying to pay for my bills. And my little sister ended up coming in and living with me, and I ended up taking care of her. And then I was like, you know what, it's time to leave. I can't stay in this place anymore. Jacksonville, you've done you've done enough. And so I packed up all of our stuff, and we literally drove across country. And when I first got there, within 6 months, I was in a Whole Foods, doing my own thing, right? Eating clean, because that was my thing. Right. Even before it was cool, I was eating clean, by the way. And this pageant recruiter came up to me. Now, mind you, I've been a tomboy, okay? I did ROTC in high school, didn't go to prom because I had to work a double. I'm a tomboy. I had spitting contest with my first sergeant, like not a girly girl. Yeah. This what you see is God cultivating some things, right? So when he came up to me and he said, you should try out for the Miss California pageant, I just immediately laughed inside and thought, this guy's looking for a date. He's just hitting on me. But he wasn't. He was genuinely just asking me to try out for the Miss California pageant. And so I looked it up online that night, and I started realizing, oh my gosh, this could really be the moment that I could utilize to throw me into, you know, my goals: writing a book, launching a nonprofit, reforming foster care, you know, becoming a national speaker, sharing hope and courage with the world. All of these dreams that I had, I realized that this could be a platform that God could use. Right. And so I took my own arrogance of the pageant world and my own, you know, I'm not gonna do that. And I was like, oh, okay, Lord, I see what you're doing here. And I gave it a good college try. Went out, competed, became Miss Ventura, won that title, and then started raising thousands of dollars in my community in Ventura. And it was incredible. The community was very supportive, from dresses to dance lessons to coaching lessons to all of the things that I would need, right? Because this girl doesn't know nothing. I know nothing. And it was a beautiful moment that the Lord gave me to really do some healing. And I won, and I was crowned queen from 2013 all the way through 14, and it was really a beautiful time.
Wow. What a story of God's faithfulness, and a beautiful story of redemption. Yeah. And it's still
this
going.
This is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning.
We haven't even started.
That's the cool thing about God. So just lastly, as we're kind of finalizing this, there's a young man, a young lady that's watching right now, and they feel alone, they feel hurt, they feel abused, they feel left out, they feel lost, they feel isolated, they feel alone. What would you say to them?
There's a God in heaven who loves you, that he's there for you, and that no matter the hardship or suffering that you endure, you are in charge of you. One of my mottos is death to self-pity. I am not a victim. I'm not going to allow the things that happen to me to destroy my future. I will surrender them to the Lord. I will surrender my own self-pity, and I will work hard to achieve whatever purpose God has given me. And I think it's really important that people who have endured any type of abuse or any type of hardship or any type of poverty, that you realize that God can take you out of that pit and he can bring you into the palace, whatever that palace is for you. America is a beautiful place. We are the most blessed nation in the world. It is absolute fact.
Yes.
And we have opportunities that other nations do not. And so it is our job as Americans to utilize and tap into those opportunities, because no matter where you are on the economic spectrum, no matter where you are on the professional spectrum, no matter where you are in age or sex, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can accomplish anything you achieve with hard work and never quitting. Amen. I decided I was going to write a book at 18 years old. Yeah. I'm 32 years old now on a national book tour. It's not overnight. It's going to be hard, but let me tell you something, you can do it. Right. So I would tell anyone who's listening, if God has given you a purpose or a passion or a dream or a desire or a call, no matter what it takes, you press into the mission until the mission is accomplished, and then the Lord's going to give you a new task. Yes. You can never quit. You can never give up, because you are worth it. Yes. And God has given you gifts and talents that only you can give to the world. Right. It is your duty to outpour yourself, even in your hardship, because someone needs you. Yes. Someone needs your story, needs your word, needs your strength. Yes. So my encouragement is to never quit and to keep going. Keep fighting the fight.
Amen. Yes, you are worth it. Never quit. Never give up. God has a great purpose for your life.
Yes.
Thank you so, so much for sharing your story.
Yes.
Cinder Girl, Christina Meredith. You can get her book on our website, ctvn.org. We'll have a link there for you. I promise it will bless you and help you. What a great story of God's faithfulness and redemption and transformation.